Are we ready to go? Hello there. Alrighty, so it seems we're going to start today with no one in the room, which is totally fine. So we'll just go into Let's Player mode. Hi, everybody. This is Yuki, and today I figure something that I'm going to do something that's needed to get done for like the last 3-ish years of this album's production cycle. Which is way too long, but you know, we're here and it needs to be addressed now. So for anybody that doesn't really know, if you're new here, or you somehow managed to get auto-played into a random guy on the internet's live stream, but I'm typically a musician, right? I'm a musician and I'm an arranger of video game music. I do that video games specifically. You know, I've got my niches that I'm interested in, but my main style being, you know, it's a little bit, I guess traditionally you would call it more of like the jazz tradition, but within the genres of rock, metal, and like some contemporary classical styles. So you know, I'm not a jazz artist or anything like that. It's a tradition that's really only being kept alive by certain people on the internet, or like realistically, like the Japanese internet musicians are pretty much the only ones I know keeping this kind of tradition alive outside of certain people. But what we do here is, so where you would typically say is like, I'm gonna play this song from a video game, but on guitar, and I'm going to play it exactly the way the song is. I don't really like to do that. To me, I kind of like to continue the musical conversation. But you know, in the world of commercial viability and copyright laws and things like that, we do kind of stick to things being more of a just a rearrange of certain parts. We do a little bit of melody transformation. Sometimes we completely change the backing chords. It's just different things. But anyway, I've been working on this album. This is my second Touhou arrangement album. So my first one came out in 2020, and really since 2021. So actually, it's been 4 years. I've been working on this one, and it has been a ride. It has been a hell of a ride, to say the least. I have pretty much learned. I've learned a lot in 4 years about audio production. So this album has pretty much gone through revision after revision after revision, and most of it's due to the fact that I've been so slow with actually getting the songs written out and recorded. But we're nearing the end. I literally have on the whole album 11 measures to actually record, and really that's not even me recording it. That's a collaboration partner. So just waiting on those parts to get back. But all right. So the plan for today, I discovered this before I did a different music production stream where I was working on some original music. I found out that the way I usually process my drums, I can make them sound even better by doing just some simple tweaks to what I was already doing. Big thing, I'll illustrate it here. If I go to this other track, so we got 3 tracks we're going to work on today. Just don't worry about that. Or we're going to try to work on. I don't know if we'll get that far. This is what my normal conventional setup looks like. It's a bunch of tracks. It's a bunch of crap that really you don't need to really worry about too much, because I can kind of talk about them as we go through it. But the big thing was this guy. This little track 58 here called Drum Verb. And essentially what I did here is you take a certain amount of tracks, for this instance I was using specifically the snare, the toms. I've got a yawn, I'm sorry. Oh my gosh. It was a long day, I'm sorry. But yeah, snare, toms were going to it, and then this compressor track is going to it. And what it does is pretty much it's a reverb that's been heavily EQ'd, heavily compressed. Well, it's been EQ'd first, then there's EQ thrown on, or there's reverb thrown on, excuse me. Then you compress the snot out of it, and then I did like 3 different rounds of EQ because that's the way my brain works. Doing this gets you a very 80s sound. It's an older sound, right? I'll illustrate what that kind of sounds like. Let's see, what would be a good place? Sure, why not? It sounds like this. You're mostly going to notice it in the snare drum. Now, obviously, this was recorded with these are drum samples recorded with modern hardware, and they're modern drums and that kind of stuff, and they're modern drum writing, so they kind of sound new, but really, the general sound is a much older sound. Let me stop this guy really quick, and then we'll swap over to this track, which is the first track I've been working on with this new setup, and we're going to see right away things are a little more in your face, and a little bit, yeah, I guess that does it. Or it's gonna sound a little more closer. You sound a little closer to modern. So, let me turn this guy on so you can hear it, and then here we go. Yeah, you get the point. So it's not as like really reverbed out. The toms, everything's just a little bit more forward. Um, we 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 lack the gigantic, massive tails that we have with the other one, but we get a much more focused and really a lot more heavy hitting sound. And if I can figure out how to mix it properly, which is the goal of this stream, it will sound just as huge, if not even bigger, whenever everything is playing. So I've already done kind of a test render of this and listened to it at work today, so I kind of already know what needs to get done with this guy. But in general, we're kind of going to need to just do some little tweaks here and there, just to kind of really shape it up. And of course, mesh with the rest of the parts that you see in here. So that's kind of the goal today. And then when I get that done, we'll move on to translating it to the other 2 tracks I have up here that you can't see because there's a clock in the way. Oh well, I'm not moving it. Sorry. So let's go ahead and let's just get started. So I know the first thing I need to do was the snare, which has been the primary headache of getting this stuff all mixed, is really getting buried now. Oh, whenever specifically. Oh my god. Oh my god, I'm so sorry for yawning. So it was a very long day, and I didn't get much sleep. But no, the snare drum is getting buried whenever there are crash cymbals. Any kind of like cymbal that is not the hi-hat or the ride cymbal. I don't know what those are. Hello, Easy Drummer. Thank you for that. This guy. Or this guy. The ch or the ting ting guy. Right? But this guy. This guy. This guy. This guy. Heck, even that guy. They're all really loud. So I think actually what I want to do first is I want to go through and balance the cymbals themselves. Not necessarily these two, because I've got them mixed I've got them set in the mix in a way I like them. It's just to get the crashes and stuff under control. That one's louder. Is it louder? It's just a little bit louder. And I'm gonna say this. I'm a little out of my element on this one today. Normally when I do streams, just any kind of stream, I will have headphones on. I can't actually mix these songs properly in headphones. There are some people there's a lot of people out there that are great at that. I am not one of them. I have not spent the time to practice. I chose to go the studio monitor route. So that's what I'm doing. So you might hear some bleed over from the microphone I'm using to talk to you in. That's just because, you know, there's 2 decent sized speakers sitting in front of me right now. So right, those are now balanced out. That's way too quiet. Why is that so quiet? A little too much. Draw it back. I know you're loud as shit, so... Chinas are always loud. China cymbals are always loud. Breakdowns stuff. That is the loudest Spock I've ever heard in my life. Spock cymbals are weird, and that's not actually what they look like. This is the advantage of working with drum cymbals, like samples, is that I can throw whatever cymbal I want on whatever graphic. A little bit less. Alright, there we go, we got that. Next up, and actually we need to be in here, is we need to do this thing called sidechain compression. So this is pretty much what sidechain compression is it's a studio mixing technique that we use for certain things, where we're pretty much telling one thing to get out of the way whenever another thing plays. So what we're going to sidechain is we're going to be sidechaining this guy, this overhead track. This is pretty much just a general stereo track that has all the cymbal mics in it. Or sorry, for the mics that are used for miking up the cymbals. And we're going to sidechain the snare drum to it, because these two exist in similar frequency ranges, right? So how we do that, and really, before I set this up to do this, because I was doing this already. Again, I'm so sorry about the yawning. Is, I take this track in Reaper. All we got to do really is click this and drag it over to this thing. But we're not going to worry about that right now, because as I said, I've already done it. So what we're going to do pretty much is I need to just turn up this track, and you'll see what happens whenever I actually use it. Let's go ahead and play from like here. Yeah, everything's muted. All right, so let's play it from here, and we'll see what it does. Yeah, metal. This is really weird without all the context. So that sounds about right to me. The only way to truly tell if we got it right is to see how it sounds in the mix, which is, generally a good practice to do. Actually, did I start this back up? Yes, it did. All right, sorry. All right, I forget, because we're going to be swapping between a lot of these different project tabs here that you can't see. And if I don't go into here and hit start, this big button right here, you won't be able to hear anything. Digital audio workstations output audio different from like a game or like a web browser. It's weird. You need like a special program to get OBS to actually hear whatever you're to actually, connect this to OBS, and then a plugin like this, right? But anyway, that's not important. We're going to start this. It's probably going to be a little bit of a surprise. I don't know if I've actually showed this track off before, so you're getting some new material for an album that I swear will come out this year, trademark, soon. Anyway, here we go. This is part of Sailor of Time. Let's see if I can get this mixed. Just a little bit of mic bleed. Again, sorry, can't really do anything about that. I've tried noise suppression, or background noise suppression, and it's just OBS is trying. This actually doesn't sound bad. I think we kind of... I did a decent job kind of balancing those out. Kick's getting a little drowned out though. Or actually, let's do that. Let's send... There it is. There it is. Okay. That's enough of that. Let's skip over to the bridge section, I think. Because the other thing I wanted to do is fix the toms. They sound a little weird, don't they? Like just a little bit. So I think the tom stuff mostly happens between here and here. So what we're gonna do our favorite thing. You know, whenever I'm recording stuff live, and we're gonna loop it a bunch. Doing a thing here. So normally, whenever I run reverb on things, I'll run it in parallel. This is kind of a good thing I could talk about. And what that means is that things like this compression track is actually just an effect. Like, it's not actually, like, nothing is actually recorded to it. If I go to it, there's no items on it. You can say the same thing about, like, reverb and delay. Like, if I go down here, you know, there's nothing actually recorded on these. All they're doing is I'm sending tracks to them and they are throwing reverb on them. Now, they're not actually throwing them on them in a literal sense, but we're keeping the main tone of, like, specifically the drums, and they're being sent out to this guy, right? But then there's also, like, this compression track. Is a great way to tell. So, like, here's what it does. Like, you can't really... So yeah, it's just adding a color to it, right? It's a little more in your face. That's what the modern rock and metal sound is. So that's really what modern drums is. So I think, but here, I'm doing this just because I don't want to open up a whole other track and do this. Like I say, a lot of effects now have, like, wet and dry knobs built in. Reaper actually does this thing right here. Here's a wet and dry knob for you. We've already got plenty of, like, top end stuff, so. A little bit of low end helps. Maybe just a tiny bit more, like just in general. I think what we're going to do is we're going to go in with another bit of EQ just after it. Maybe we do high shelf. That's a little too much now. Pull it back. Just need a little bit less high end kind of in there, right? Now, because I've done that, though, I need to go back in. We need to check a level of something just really quick. Yeah, thought so. Thought so. Yep, I figured you'd be obnoxiously loud. You can actually boost it a little bit. Very cool. Lost some body, though. What's going on with that? That's not fair. Yeah, okay, thought so. Yep, that's not healthy. Maybe do something like this instead. Bring it back forward. Maybe go even more aggressive. And then, like, really chop it off there at the end. Actually. You actually need a bump. Wow. Why are you so... Where's your waveform? Where is the body of this instrument? You need a mid boost, okay. I mean, yeah, it's audible now. I guess we also automate these, because why is that so fucking loud? Holy shit. It's like the extra doesn't even exist, man. Act out of here. Yeah, it's like that's weird. Oh. That is really weird. I don't worry too much about it. Let's try something just really quick. I want to see what it looks like. Yeah, actually that's fine. Okay, back to our little bridge section here, because really aggressive. I was like, get up here and then shut up. What were you just at, 15? I just had a really bad panning issue. Yeah, you're already being panned inside the software, so I don't need to do anything. Okay. Okay. I mean, that's getting there. Um, yeah. I think this is um, a good. Yeah, this is definitely a good. The main goal I wanted to do was, improve the snares kind of sound, which I did. I can always go back and put the toms in, process them a little bit better later, rather than spending like 6 hours on that. Maybe we'll try for just a little bit longer because I can't decide what I want. Is the big problem. Like I can't decide if I want the kind of cracky toms, with the big attack on them or not, or if I want more just like mid-range tone. Part of me wants to like. We'll see if maybe shelf it just a little bit. Just a tiny bit. They do have a crack to them, though. You're probably gonna get some mic plate. I gotta crank this just for a second. I think I'm happy enough with that. I think I'm happy enough with that. Realistically, I've got to think about something here. So I have already moved on from this drum library that I use. I've used Easy Drummer 2 specifically for like since 2018 or 2019, something like that. A hot minute. Actually, no, even longer than that, like 16 or 17, something like that. I've gotten good results out of it, and people have liked my drum sounds I've gotten out of it. Um, but I've gotten even better drum sounds out of out of another library called Superior Drummer 3, which is same company, just it's a much more detailed, in-depth drum sound or drum library, so you can get a whole lot more surgical with things than I can do here, even with the way I have everything set up. But yeah, okay. I think we've got a good basis. I am going to save this, just so we have it. And what we're going to do is we're going to copy all of this. Right. Do this. And all this does is take the configuration and the sliders and all the mix presets here. And we're just going to save that. And we're going to move on to our next track, which is Alice Maestra. And I need to turn this off so you're not hearing that anymore. And then go here and turn this one on. So this track you have already heard. What is soloed out? Oh yeah, right. right. I did that. I did that earlier today. I'm sorry. You've already heard this track before. At least some regulars have already heard this before. I have teased this one a decent amount. You might probably hear a decent amount from it. As a matter of fact, I think I played it when I went for like on like a break for some reason, like a 5-minute. But okay. So first step, and I love this part. You know what? I just realized I've already messed it up. So I need this guy. Actually, what I need to do is this boop, and then control click. There we go. Now I have everything. Did I just paste the snapshot over? Oh, yeah, I did. I hit the wrong thing. There we go. Copy that. Go over here and paste this in. Drum bus. Yep. There's nothing there, so don't even worry about it. Yep. Okay, that's all right. This is going to take a hot minute, and I will not be surprised if the project crashes. Because I've altered quite a bit. I have altered a decent amount from what was originally there. We can test to see if we've actually done it right by pretty much looking over here and seeing if we sent anything to the reverb. So we have not. Let's see, actually. Rhythm guitar bus, drum bus, keyboard bus. Comp is what's being sent to a reverb for space reasons. Yes, it is. Okay. All right, first step. Boom. Take the reverb track. Take that out. All right, let's just see what it sounds like out of the box. Where does the song actually start, sir? There we go. So already we don't need that much of it. Maybe just a tiny bit more time. You're quiet. You're still very quiet. Motherfucker. Slightly less hi-hat. Actually, that was pretty quick. That one wasn't that bad. All right, great. It's amazing what you can do. This is probably like this one was probably the easiest to make out of all 9 tracks on the album. So it's amazing. Like whenever you like properly record everything and like the mixing is super smooth, probably due to how it was written, but like I can change things on this mix it very easily. That's funny. I don't know why. That's just really funny to me. All right. I'm gonna consider that tentatively done. So let's copy this guy. Let's, damn it, do it properly. Do this, do this. And we'll go over to our next one, which is called Strawberry Crisis. This one is probably the most, like, I need to get this right out of all of them, because this is the most modern metal sounding track on the whole album. So, to illustrate, let's, we'll do a little before and after just because of, you know, for reasons. So, yeah, I'm leaning heavy. Oh, whoops, I just realized. Need to do that. And I need to go into Alice and turn that off. There we go. Boop. There we go. Now, I'm leaning heavily into the 8 string. Sorry about that. Cool. Yeah, so that's this is the one we actually need to get the modern drum sound for. And this might take a minute. Where Snapchat? That oh fuck. Damn it. Do that. Copy that. Go over here. 3rd time's the charm. Yay, there we go. Oopsie. And wait and hope the program doesn't crash. It's a miracle it didn't. By the way, save this. Alright, let's see what you sound like. Tom's doing something weird. Why is that crash cymbal so loud? Why are you so loud? Actually, you know what? That might be due to the way I actually wrote that part. I don't know if I actually... yeah, no, I did the thing. I did indeed do the thing where I did like the... play it like an actual player would. I guess we go even harder with it. Scusi, this will be taking just a minute. up. It's funny how many different writing decisions I can make now that I've got these like processed the way they should be processed. And this is what we call in the business MIDI mangling. It's where I take all this written MIDI shit and try to like warp it in a way that like a halfway like a real player would play it. This humanized enough. I think I need just slightly less with a compression track, maybe? Alright. It's that damn floor tom again. Let's see where we at. There's like a kind of thing to it, which might honestly be this. Yeah, pretty much. Yep, that was the problem. Well. Wow, China is actually a little quiet. Hang on a second. Yeah, that's better. Kind of funny, we actually have a little more room to bring the bass up now. Yeah. All right, that sounded decent. I had to crank it up just a little bit, so I actually threw my microphone behind me. So sorry if you heard something. Okay. I guess figured that out. Go ahead and take the toms really quick. copy them. We're gonna go back to our first track and we're gonna paste them here, see if that fixes some things. Let's see what that does. I think it did. Isn't that funny? I thought I was fixing something. Adding some mids. You know better to add mids to anything. You play metal, damn it. Mids don't exist. They're a figment of your imagination. Okay. Oh, sorry. You have zero context for what just happened here. Much better. Yep, there you go. All right. Man, I love whenever I can just. I think I'm doing something right, and then, it turns out, no, you're not. You're just an idiot. Okay. Wow. So that's kind of the gist of what all I wanted to do. I was not expecting this to actually only take in how long I've been going for, like, literally 50 minutes at this point. So I guess what I'm gonna do, I can keep going with this. We'll go in and we'll go ahead and move the drums around for probably what's going to be the most difficult one, if I'm thinking correctly. So I'm going to take myself just a small little break. So we'll do where's the BRB? There's the derpy. There's the derpy face. There's that, so you can have that, my big dumb face, for a minute. And some background music while I try to get the next project file up. So give me just a second. I will be right back. Alright, I'm back. Alright. So I said I would prepare the hardest one. I've actually prepared 2. Might as well go ahead and do 5 tracks tonight. We'll do these last 2, and then really I might just call it. There's not really going to be a whole lot I could do, or anything new that's going to pop up on stream. Assuming these are right, this might just be a case of copy paste and it's done. Yeah. Which I know is the most riveting audio production content possible. Trust me. I know. I'm very aware that watching me mix audio, I think paint dry might actually be more entertaining, especially without an active chat. It's just me here in failed Let's Player mode. Yeah, that's very cool. That song's already out. You can hear that on YouTube and Spotify and everywhere else. That song already exists. Let's focus on the new stuff now, please. Alright, so Dish 1. I have only barely shown off this track. I think I've only shown it off once. I'm going to play something from part of it. And pretty much if you're a Touhou fan, you're going to know exactly what it is. So here's that. Let me turn this on so you can hear it. Here you go. Play. Yeah. Guess what the song is? Guess what the song is? I'm terrified of this song. Yeah. So let's go ahead and do our thing here, right? So let's yawn our face off. That's definitely what I mean. Start off with a big old long yawn on the microphone. That's definitely the first step. Go back to here, copy and paste it. I just copied that. I did the same thing I did earlier. Damn it. These were still selected, right? Yeah. Go in here. Now paste it this time, you butterfingers. Let's see, that's all right. We don't have an E-kit this time. Yes, okay, that's all right. So, hope this doesn't crash the system. It did not. Okay. The big thing I wanted to check here, and why I think this would be difficult, because we're still not... I said I fixed the toms, but I'm not entirely sure I've fixed the toms yet completely, okay? So, this whole song's intro is pretty much all toms. Oh. Again, so sorry about the yawning. That's pretty good. just realized, something's not being sidechained on this track. That's another, there you go. Alright. We found a thing. We found a little bug. So this guy, I'm doing a different kind of sidechaining whenever, we've already learned about sidechain compression in this stream for some reason. I felt like teaching you what that does. Here's some sidechain EQing. This is something you really only do with a dynamic EQ. So this is a dynamic EQ. And what it does is it reads different it reads the frequencies of everything like a graphic EQ does, hence this part is actually a graphic EQ. And what I can do is each one of these has like a threshold meter, and if it crosses the threshold, it will turn down that frequency spectrum every time it goes above the threshold. Kind of like a compressor does. It does, as a matter of fact, it pretty much just is a compressor, but it's only for like an EQ spectrum that you set. I've been doing that specifically for like the rhythm guitars with the snare drum and the keyboards to give the snare drum some more space, because it's for some reason it's getting beaten out, and I ain't having that. So let's do this. Put the same thing here. Put the same thing here. Let's see. Are you still being sent to everything? Yes, you are. Okay, so this should just magically work. Suddenly I can turn them up a little bit more. Need this here, I'll be honest with you. Huh? Why are you playing a note? Get out of here. Oh, it's not. My mind is playing a trick on me. Okay, that's not sounding terrible. That is not sounding terrible. Let me go over to the bridge section and hear what this stuff sounds like in context here. Because this is a very sparse section by comparison. getting buried just a little bit. Yeah, you can see what this does. It's actually kind of cool to watch it. Oh no, I just spoiled the whole damn solo. That's fun. Yeah, okay, we're definitely we're in the ballpark now. This track needs a lot of work to it still. This is the last track that still has parts to be recorded. That I'm waiting on a collaborator to get back to me with. Yeah, this one I've described as we've talked about this one behind the scenes of being as of right now a mixing mess. So, you know, it's got a lot of work. It'll get done. Just gotta get around to actually doing that. Okay, but I think that's good for that one. I'm gonna take one last listen through this intro just real quick and try to pay attention to the toms, and we'll see what everything sounds like. So. Bit like that, maybe. Okay, let's try that. No, maybe it doesn't need the dip. Maybe it doesn't need the volume dip. Just another instrument. No, don't nudge. One more time. I'm happy with that. Okay. Alright, we're going to save you, and we're going to go on to the last one for tonight. So, let me swap over to that. This song has already been teased as well. This is, this one's been teased. This one's in the official teaser, which is somewhere on the internet. I don't remember specifically where I put it, but it's there. It exists. Copy. Paste. I forgot to throw this on here. Hang on. If I don't, you won't be able to hear anything. Okay. This is Bad Apple, which you can almost see it up there. You can almost see it up there. I pointed into it in OBS instead of on the screen that OBS is looking at, because I am a professional. But anyway, so we need to do our fun little thing again, which means I'll probably screw this up. Because, you know, I just realized, so we don't actually need that anymore. Do this. Now save. Okay. Do that. Select all this shit. Copy it. Paste it. Please paste it properly. Good. Okay. Don't crash, please. Please don't crash. Snare is missing its receive track. Oh, is there only one reverb track on this whole thing? Create a track for it. I bet there wasn't. I bet this project only. I bet this file only had one reverb track on it. I bet that's what it was. Oh no 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 no! I know what it was. I know what it was. It's a bus from the other project. Don't need that. Joe, just ignore it. It doesn't exist. All right, let's just fresh out of the box, see what this sounds like. This is another modern metal track, by the way. I am so sorry about blowing your eardrums out with drums. All right. Hot damn, that is still really loud. Jeez, this might actually need a whole new mix on it. This is rough. What happened to you? We'll skip ahead a little bit. I also need that reverb. This is a much older track. This is probably the oldest one on the whole album. Because Sailor of Time, the first track that we looked at, is actually the newest track off the album. I started it when I cut another track that's currently in the teaser, which is, you know, somewhere around the internet. I don't know specifically where, but it's there. This almost sounds like it's being sent to the master file. That's weird. That was obnoxiously loud compared to everything else. Okay, let's put you in. Paste this one here. You go there? No, these. This one here, and this one here. Here, you're actually working. Okay, there might be a whole lot wrong with this track. This might actually take me a minute. Yeah, we may not be working on the drums for this one tonight. We might be trying to pull a mix together instead. Jeez, I really don't want to rebalance this whole thing. That would suck. That would suck, and that would take like a whole other hour to do. Pull that in. Were these recorded? Yeah, that looks fun. Yeah, there's something weird going on with this one. I don't know about this. This, I don't know. The drums, the drums sound good. Yeah, the drums sound great now. Um, yeah, okay. This might be a little bit more of an in-depth process. We'll go on for just a little bit longer. I don't know if I'm gonna completely remix this one. But that may end up being the solution we have to get ourselves to. I will say something that can save me a whole bunch of time, just in general. We'll go ahead and... These are pretty much all the same tracks, so we'll do this. Copy all of these in. Hopefully their mix is similar enough to this, to where it works. This is another kind of like a little save the day cheat. Sometimes this works, sometimes this doesn't. See what happens when I just do this. Oh, look at that. Tell you what, we'll get even more drastic. Let's copy this guy into this guy instead. Turn this on here. Paste effect. Right. It did not paste the effect. That's a scary thing. Why didn't that do anything? Copy it. Oh no, there it is. Alright, it just took forever to load up. Alright. Okay. Alright, cool. That's a little bit better. Alright, something was up with the master program. All this guy does, by the way, is it's kind of like some just pre-level mastering. This is a mastering plugin, and it's doing some just overarching things, like some overarching track EQ, a little bit of compression, a little bit of dynamic EQing. The only thing it's not doing is limiting. That gets saved for later after another round of mastering. But we'll get to that kind of stuff another time. And actually, really, we will never get to that time for an album project. That's a pain in the ass to do live. Even more pain in the ass than mixing it. All right, let's keep going while we're here. Actually, what we need to do is we need to find a spot where the toms are. I think it's kind of funny. I think this is the only like actual spot where it is. That's kind of funny how I'm moving a bass track up and I'm not getting any more low-end response out of it. Oh, I love that. That's always real fun to kind of figure out what the fuck's going on there. Alright, tell you what, we'll do the thingy again. We'll this time do it with the bass. So do this. Oh, those levels are not going to really work out for this, but we'll try it anyway. Yes. Oh, there's extra stuff on them than what was there previously. That will probably help out a lot. Yeah, that's getting somewhere. Okay, that's a good start for that one. I'd hate to do this, but I'm extremely tired. I mentioned earlier the stream that I did not get any sleep last night, and I had to wake up at, we're back to that kind of hour-long drive to a job site, so I'm operating off of 4 hours of sleep right now, which is probably why I made some dumb decision earlier, but we can worry about that. That's been taken care of. So I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to call it here, pretty much, and go to bed. So, thank you all for watching. It's been fun. It's been informative for me, definitely. And yeah, you guys have yourselves a great night. So, take care. And yeah, bye-bye. Why is that there? Oh, let's try that again. You can tell what the last thing I did on this screen was supposed to be. Oh man. Yeah, let's try that again. Thank you for watching and have yourselves a good night. Bye-bye.